This match review is going to be a bit negative. Again, of course. But before we get to the negativity, I want to thank the 7,000 people that subscribe to this channel to get us to that milestone. We're on our way to 10,000, and we couldn't have even got to that first 7,000 without all your help, so we really appreciate that. There are something like 68 million Barca fans in the world, so please share this content so we can get more people involved in this community. I don't want to hear from everybody. You know, I don't like to hear all the negativity, but there's a lot of people out there that I want to share this with. By and large, Kool-Aids are a great community, and even in these dark times, Kool-Aid's got to stick together. Okay, on to the game. Better than Granada? Maybe. Or maybe I'm just apoplectic about the way that Barcelona are playing, and I feel like they couldn't get any worse than Granada. Still, a 0-0 against Cádiz, when a response was necessary from this team, there's a lot of frustration coming the Vets' way here in the 5 headlines from Barcelona's 0-0 draw with Cádiz. 1. Wingers can't get healthy soon enough. When Ansu Fati returns, hopefully against Levante, I was going to be excited no matter what. Full stop. But Barcelona desperately need wingers. And even 50% of Ansu Fati, based on what his reputation was prior to getting hurt, is enough to give Barcelona some space that they desperately need out there on the wings. Memphis Depay, who we'll talk about later in his own category, was playing way too close to Luuk de Jong. I know they're supposed to have the partnership between PSV and the Dutch national team, but Memphis cutting in every single time and Luuk de Jong not being mobile enough to basically get out of his way meant that Cádiz got to just settle in, pack it all in that low block, and Barcelona would give the ball away when they tried to play through the middle. I thought the rest of Barcelona's midfielders and the spacing was better than against that game against Granada. And even when Coutinho came on and Barcelona were down a man, they were finding that space through the middle. But Memphis and Luuk de Jong, it was just too much of that. There was one occasion in the match when Luuk de Jong went way to the right wing and picks up the ball and almost delivers a dime of an assist to Memphis if he didn't get the ball cut in his feet. So the one time that they do separate is the one time that something successful happens. Long story short, LDJ is not the long-term starter. We all know that. I've been saying that on the channel, on the podcast. Everybody knows that. Luuk de Jong is not the long-term starter. Memphis Depay and Ansu Fati, whether it's at left wing and center forward, and I'm not sure which is which, are definitely much better than this kind of spacing. 2. Maybe a bit too soon for Yusuf Demir. Another reason for wingers is that Yusuf Demir isn't necessarily a touchline winger. He's not a player that's going to completely spread, and even though that's where he was playing for most of this game, he didn't really find the game until about 30 minutes in, 35 minutes in, when he was able to cut in and show what he has with the ball at his feet, some technical skill, and a little bit of class when he was playing with confidence. But it was just too much of him playing an unnatural position. More than that even, he is still 18, sure, but we're throwing ages out this season because Gavi is doing what he's doing. But for Demir, the expectation was that he was going to come in, play with Barca B, and I know I keep saying this like a broken record, but he was supposed to play with Barca B this year, then likely get bought for 10 million euros and play with the first team next year. But he's been thrust into the 11 shirt, he's been thrust into this position, and it feels like it's a bit too much for him as a starter for FC Barcelona, coming right off the plane, supposed to be playing in the 3rd division. I do see some of the tools that's going to make him a first-team player, I'd hope someday. But right now, I think it'd be better for him to be playing with Barca B, dominating in that 3rd division, and it just feels like a bit too soon for Yusuf Demir. I don't know how we get around that this year. 3. A reminder that Memphis Depay is hot and cold. This was his worst performance in a Barca shirt by far. That last-moment chance from Gerard Piqué should rightfully haunt him for at least the next 48 hours, and that miss from the Luuk de Jong cross also wasn't great. He had a few other chances, and one that was reasonably saved by Ledesma, but overall, Memphis Depay, if he finishes any of those, there's an entirely different narrative around this game. These kind of games have plagued him throughout his whole career. He's a fantastic player, like 85% of the time. It's what separates him from being the best player on Lyon to being the best player at an elite club. Because when he's on, he can attack like one of the top 5 best attackers in all of football, and the numbers do back that up per 90. But when he's off on a day like this, he can't be the number 1 option for FC Barcelona. And that's a tough pill to swallow in a year when they really need Memphis Depay to be stepping up. And his reputation did tell us, sometimes Memphis is off on a game like today. And it's another reason why Barca were able to get him on a free transfer. 4. Questionable refereeing. The ref had a bad day today. And I know people will say and be cynical about the Madrid bias or something like that, and it's a whole plot against Barcelona, but I just think the ref was poor today. Maybe that's a bigger indictment than some kind of conspiracy, because he was just flat out bad. But to make matters worse, Barca weren't sharp at all today, and that really gets pinned on the veterans in the midfield. For Frankie de Jong, a poor first touch leads to his first questionable yellow, which sets up his second yellow, which wasn't a yellow. The he played the ball excuse doesn't fix everything, but for that one, he did play the ball and was trying to pull up as the foul occurred. You can't book a player twice in 3 minutes and have that be the second foul. Once that happened, Cádiz was given a lifeline to hold on to that 1 point. It was really disappointing, but De Jong wasn't good before he was sent off, and Busquets' passing was just too far off the mark today. Busi looks like he needs a rest, which is a far cry from get this guy out of my club and put him on the bench permanently, which I know people are going to say in the comments. But he looks like a guy that's too old and too long in the tooth and has played too many minutes to be playing once every 3 days. He needs a rest. And that being De Jong can play pivot, Diego Gonzalez can play pivot, somebody else needs to do it. But playing him 90 minutes 3 times in a week is a recipe for the showing we saw today. Look how Gabi was in this match. He's young, he was fresh, he was fighting for his spot, and he got a lot more done. And he was sharper on the ball than Busi, who just looks tired right now. 5. Barca gets 0 points without Ter Stegen. Ter Stegen, Gabi, Mingueza, and probably Dest, as well as a little bit of Piqué and Araujo, those players can, I guess, kind of hold their head up high. They were the reason why Barca got 3 points, but no one more than Marc-Andre Ter Stegen. This is one of those matches where he didn't see a lot of action, but when he did, he had to get it right. And good thing for Koolais, he did get it right today, especially late on in that match. And I feel like because he's been around now for 6 years, we only hear about him when there is that contingent of Koolais that are always complaining about Ter Stegen, about replacing him for XYZ reasons. And hopefully he's back at 100% from that off-season surgery. And if Ter Stegen is playing like he played today, then Barca can get some points when they might not deserve any. So yeah, for the second straight draw, not a lot of positives. The podcast will be out in a few hours, and then it's on to Levante. But in the meantime, thank you for continuing to support the club, and thank you for continuing to support me. As I said, for all the doom and gloom and the dark times about the club, I'm really happy and proud of the 7,000 people that subscribe here on YouTube, and I'm excited to have that number continue to grow. And until then, Forza Barça.